Hello and welcome to another Aristi podcast. I'm Michael Palmer, the Sales Director here at Aristi, and today we're going to be discussing the customer journey with us. I've got vast experience in many sectors, police, energy, rail, large infrastructure projects across the country, and I think the customer journey with us is something that we'd like to touch on today to give a full appreciation of how a project and a partnership would work with Aristi. On the podcast today, I'm pleased to say I've got James. If you want to say hello, James.
Absolutely, yeah. Hi, I'm James Dalton, one of the senior account managers here at Aristi. Been doing the job for 6-7 years now. A lot of experience in the field. Primarily sectors I work in is local government, NHS, private sector side, looking at legal, construction, things along those sort of lines. So together, I think we make a pretty good team and cover a lot of bases. So some of the things we'll be talking about today is going to be about that journey from beginning to end, isn't it? So to kick us off, I need a pen test. I need a security assessment. I need something like that. From somebody who's never experienced that before, what's the best first step to take?
Okay. So the best first step for someone brand new to a pen test or security assessment, like I say, is to look for an organisation with accreditations. They can be nationally recognised or sometimes internationally recognised, and you're looking for that security in knowing that whoever's going to be testing your environment has the right skill set and accreditations. So for private sector, you're looking at CREST, and then for public sector, you're looking at NCSC check. Aristi are both, so it's obviously a good place to start with us. But you could Google these and find lists of people if you want to shop around a bit. And so then, once you've sort of found the companies you'd like to work with, what's the best time to reach out for a pen test?
Yeah, it's often quite the tricky part of it. Once you're told or you understand that you need a pen test or some sort of review, it's often when an environment is new. And with that in mind, you know that the deadlines are tight. From the project needs to be started, everything needs to be in place to go live. That window of the project's ready and it's got to go live is so tight a window. And a penetration test and most security assessments, you want to do them when the environment's in a position where that's what it's going to look like in practice, in real life. So you want to hit it in that small window. Our testers are very familiar with working in that sort of tight time scale, and they understand that. The key biting point we see with a lot of clients that are new to it is they'll start the conversations of, I need an assessment, during that time. And at that point, you're already in such a tight time scale. It's going to be really hard to meet that deadline of go live. So you want to have the conversations as early as possible. If you know it's something you're going to have to do, let's talk scope, let's talk project management, let's talk commercials way before that time. So when it comes to that time, all you're worried about is the testing itself. You don't have to dedicate all these different teams and resources to that. It's the same sort of approach for annual work as well. If you do testing every year, people often sit back and go, wow, we know when we do it this time every year. Quite often scopes change. And if you're repeating the same quote every year, same scope every year, why not change your approach to the testing as well? Find new vulnerabilities. If you're finding the same stuff every year, change it up. So it's still in your interest to reach out as early as possible, really. So from initial inquiry, I need a pen test or something like that, all the way through to I need a report in my hand and I need to go to the board or I need to prove that this solution is secure. There's a time window to that. There's a life cycle of that where it's sort of pre-delivery and post. We say for a successful project, you want to give about 8 weeks for that process to run from reaching out.
Is that from initial inquiry to report?
Yeah, that's throughout the whole way. That's from reaching out to like ourselves and saying, I need a pen test, working its way through the pre-side of things, allow time for delivery, and allow time in the back end for the reports to be QA'd and any retesting you might need as well.
QA, you say there, what's that?
Quality assurance. So it's important, especially for us, that once a test is complete, that the lead assessor on that test has the opportunity for another principal consultant to review their work. So it's not just we found this one thing. It's got to be understood across the team that They would have all found similar interest. They've got an opportunity to query anything there to make sure that the end result's exactly what you're looking for.
It's the guarantee of quality there, isn't it? I guess is the thing.
Yeah, it is.
And so you say 8 weeks, but I'm a project manager. I've got to sort of the end of the life cycle of my project, environment, go live, and somebody's just come out of the blue to me, information security manager somewhere, said, you need to pen test this. So is that 8 weeks flexible?
Absolutely, it's flexible. We can make it fit to whatever means we need to. Of course, with tighter timelines and things, you've got to be more reactive and ready to get things up and moving. We like to allow time for stuff like prerequisites to be arranged, and we quite often know that takes clients time to do that. So if you're ready and eager to go and to get everything set up and the access for the guys to do the work, we can match that. We can get that in. We just feel for successful, smooth delivery, more time we've got, the more chance that that's going to happen. So that's the sort of life cycle of an individual project. Is there any other way that it's important for partnership, where you can get sort of account management over the lot, so it isn't just standalone?
Yeah, that's a key part of our relationship building here at Aristi. Myself and my team as the account managers, we are looking to build that cybersecurity partnership with our customers. It's becoming an extension of your own team already. So we are the cybersecurity experts. We are that offensive security partner that can test your vulnerabilities, test your systems to give you that best assurance that you're preventing problems and vulnerabilities before you get to those issues and face challenges there. That partnership model can be in a contract, and we do multi-year contracts with customers, and that works well because we can then build a roadmap to mature in your cybersecurity posture. Or that partnership model can be project by project as well. We're flexible. We'll work with you. We'll work with your budgetary constraints. We'll work with your own sort of resources in-house. We know IT teams are stretched. We know wider cybersecurity teams are often stretched.
Absolutely.
And so, we're looking to build that relationship, learn how best it works between us and the customer, and ultimately it's a win-win for both on that. And so to get that partnership model and to get project by project along that way in the cybersecurity journey, we've developed a model, haven't we, James?
We have indeed.
So somewhere now our technical people in the background are going to put up a picture, probably there, somewhere like that. But ultimately we're going to discuss this through now for anyone just listening as well, and not necessarily on video. So the first stage of our model in terms of the life cycle of a project with Aristi is scoping. So avoiding any technical detail here, we're trying to keep this sort of high level today. We're looking at a cybersecurity requirement.
Yeah.
It needs some sort of testing, assurance. Someone somewhere has said it, or we're looking at best practice. So how do we go about scoping that assessment, James?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fundamental part of the project is getting this part right. And you're correct, there is a technical side to all of this. But it doesn't just sit there. Quite often than not, it's quite a scary concept. We need a penetration test. We need a cybersecurity audit. If you're not that technical, that can be quite standoffish. I don't know how to best approach that. So this is sort of taking you through from an outsider in. This is what you got to do. This is what's important for scoping, even for non-technical people. So first thing we try and understand is the context behind why the assessment or the requirements needed. Quite often than not, you'll get a third party or a new supplier, or something's changed where they've gone, have you done a penetration test? What's your security like? How mature are your systems? And then you go, oh, I don't know. Let's go reach out and find out. So understanding that your goal is to, say, meet that requirement with a supplier, or to reach a certain certification level, things like Cyber Essentials Plus, for instance, you need to get that badge. Where do you start from there? Penetration tests, IT health checks, those types of tests all come into play. Understanding the goal of your assessment will help us curate what we feel is appropriate for your environment and for the requirement you have.
And we can help customers with that sort of scoping and context as well through our experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, it's one of those that our testing team as well, they will understand the context of what the goal is, as you've been saying, James. So they will look at it and say, you might have this whole environment, but how long is a piece of string to test the whole environment? So let's look at the key risks and key mitigations you want to put in place as best practices in your either sector or company size.
Yeah.
And then we'll look to build that plan with the customer, won't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Understanding some goals it's important, because it's not one size fits all with testing. If that was the case, there'd be so much unapplicable findings and approaches to the test. It wouldn't be worth the paper. You want to make sure it's niche and applies to your specific environment, what you want to get out of it. Especially for things like a penetration test, it's goal orientated. So what is the goal? Where do you consider your crown jewels being? Where would you be most vulnerable if it got attacked? Understanding that from your company's standpoint, it's paramount for the success of the project. There is a technical part of the scoping side of things, of course, where one of the technical advisors needs to discuss with one of our testers to get into the brass tacks of what's included in the infrastructure, what's the application look like, things like that. It's making sure those communication chains are there and existing. Those conversations are very important, but there is an overarching project management that needs to happen to make sure it's successful, as you very well know. Once those conversations are sort of taking place, we can understand budgetary requirements as well. As again, it's not one size fits all. If there's a certain budgetary cap, if you make us aware of that, we can try and curate the test for you to get as much value from it as you can within a budget. Things like penetration testing, the hackers in the real world have got all the time in the world. So where do you pull the line on that? Our guys are very familiar with that and can say, within this time window, we feel you're going to get the most from this. Of course, we could find more going on, but then that doesn't match a budget, doesn't apply to the project. That's the sort of scoping on a high level, not to get into the technical side of things. The next stage we're at is initiation. So we've got the scoping understood. We've got a benchmark of what the assessment's going to look like. We send the proposal over, that's reviewed. Commercials are agreed. There can be a back and forth there. What's next? What happens after that?
Yeah, so once commercials are agreed with a very competitive quote from...
Yeah, extremely.
Yeah, from us, for sure. We move into initiation then. So we'll look to agree the timeframes of the testing window with you. Ultimately, I'll look to say to a customer, when do you need the report by? Yeah. Is there a certain remediation period after that you've got before go live? Or if it's a environment that's currently in use, is there an accreditation deadline you need to hit? Anything like that. That report being issued is often the key, and then we work back from there, and I can work with the customer to provide those timeframes that work for you. Might be you've got a half term that you're off, and all those type of things that happen in life. So then once that time window of testing is agreed, we then arrange a project initiation meeting, which is typically 2 weeks or so before. We've learned from our experience that's roughly the right time to have that project initiation meeting. And that's a technical planning call. So our testing team with the lead tester will get on the call with the techie people from the customer side, and we will work through those prerequisites that would need to be in place for the testing to commence. Why we do that 2 weeks before in an ideal world is we understand in large environments it takes a while to get access, to get potentially virtual machines spun up in an environment. And also, it sometimes can be challenging for a customer, if they're smaller, to have the resource available to get everything in place. And so all that technical planning meeting happens. We then give you a sort of shopping list to go through as the customer to work on. And then there can be a back and forth in between testing commencement and that meeting. But ultimately, that's sort of a nice, smooth way to make it as seamless as possible for everyone. And then, so we get into delivery. So the project's underway.
Yep.
From your experience, James, what are the sort of key challenges, and how do we not only overcome those challenges, but how do we make the whole delivery process as smooth as possible for the customer?
Absolutely. And we see it for successful projects. The key thing to remember is communication throughout the whole exercise. Quite often than not, with IT and with cyber, it feels almost faceless. It's somebody behind a laptop. You don't get that level of communication. We like to step away from that and be an actual face and name that you can reach out to during the assessment, understand how things are going on. So there's a few areas that the guys work on to make sure that communication is there and it's preset. We often work to a call at the beginning or at the end of each testing day. So that's an opportunity for the guys to reach out with any queries they've got, understand a bit more context. But it's also an opportunity for them to let the client know, this is what we found so far, this is what we're looking at tomorrow. Keep them involved and insightful throughout the whole process. That could be the beginning or end of each day, but there is an extra layer of that where if anything high or critical comes into play, any vulnerabilities that are significant and we think you should know, we're not going to wait to the beginning or the end of a day to tell you. We're going to tell you then and there. We found this. We feel like this is a pretty critical vulnerability you guys should look at and try and retest, remediate as quick as you can. And if you can retest quickly, that also adds an extra value to yourself, because while our guys are there testing, if you find something big and say we've remediated, it was a quick fix, there you go, we've sorted it, our guys can go in and retest that then and there. They're already in your infrastructure or your application. It's quite an easy process to duplicate what they've done. The difficult part is doing it at a later date, because then they have to get the access again. So use that time well. If you can retest then and there, do it. The vulnerability will still be there on the report at the end, but it'll have a straight through, say we found this, but they fixed it pretty quickly.
And that's a win-win for the customer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because not only have we found the vulnerability before a potential bad person has found the vulnerability or bad actor, but also they've remediated there and then. So in the report, they can then show to the powers that be, board, everything, say, look how good we are.
Yep.
We've found it. So Aristi have had the value, and we've remediated it. It's no longer there, so everyone's happy.
It's a win-win. They're more secure. They're looking good. We're testing everything we can. We're finding those holes. So it's absolutely brilliant. On the communication layer, though, that every client's different. There will be clients out there that prefer that stand back, hands off approach, which is absolutely fine. The guys can sort of meet any requirement the client has, even through how to communicate. If clients do prefer emails instead of calls, they can be wrap-up emails. If there's instant messaging, Zoom, Slack, Teams, anything like that, our guys are just ready to sort of blend into the team. They're ready to take any approach that works best with the client. At the end of the day, we want to feel like a partner, not just a supplier in, which keeping that communication good, it makes the difference between that. It's quite important next. The testing's sort of done. The communication's been in place. What happens next is you get the report. That's the offshoot of everything. That's delivery. Everything's gone successful. You get a report and a remediation action plan from us. So the report is a document, has everything that's been tested in the test, including what's the scope, who did the test, when was the test completed, but also an executive summary that's meant to be so even non-technical people can pick up that document, read that summary, and understand 90% of what's in that report. What security level are you guys at? What's your maturity like? Where's your standing at that point in time? Of course, in the rest of the report is more that granular detail, what was found, how it was found, and how do you fix it. That's all there. But that executive summary means that you have a page, however long it is, to be like, this is an overall summed up picture of how it all went. If you want to know more, here's the rest. An offshoot of that granular detail, is the RAP, the Remediation Action Plan, which is an excellent document that it contains everything you expect in the report, but it's in a format as though here's all your vulnerabilities, here's that granular detail, here's the fix effort, Here's what you got to do to fix it. Here's also the fields you need to make sure you're monitoring that remediation. Make sure things are either ticked off as resolved, they've been remediated, or we're mitigating the risk, or we accept the risk on certain things. You've got a working document that can live and breathe as long as you need, as long as the remediation's effort's there, to make sure you're taking the right steps to becoming more secure.
And that's a live Excel document, isn't it? So it can be shared amongst the customer's wider team,
Yeah.
with actions on each person, and holding that accountability to remediation, but also making it clear who's doing what action, ticking them off along the way.
Yeah.
I mean, often going sure for the criticals first, then highs, and working down that way. But there might be some really quick fixes in the mediums to lows, and so they'll be grouped together, and the customer might think, oh, brilliant, this remediation action plan showed me if I do this one patch, I'm fixing 100 vulnerabilities, and then away they go from there, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. And there's that summary to that document as well, with active charts and data, to say, look, we've been testing these. We were originally at this percent of highs and mediums, and we're here at this percent. So it's really promising for board members.
Absolutely, you've touched on a really crucial thing there. Board members love a pie chart, don't they? They love a bar chart, love charts. So we can provide all those for the customer.
Absolutely.
So they've got a visual representation of their cyber security posture in that environment.
Exactly.
We've also noticed, certainly in the recent years, customers wanting customer-facing reports for their actual customers. So we can provide those as well, that can be redacted or however needs be to be presentable to a customer. But that can be quite powerful for the customer to show, can't it?
It really can. It's all for peace of mind and to make sure your own infrastructure environments are secure. But if you can't shout about that, then you're doing it for that. Board members, they like to see that. They like to shout about that. We test and we're really good. Our security posture's there. It's all very positive stuff. So our reports and wraps have stood the test of time. They've improved over the years. Like there's capturing as much experience from the whole testing team, from different sectors, from different skill sets, from different types of test, using all that information in one place to give you the most from the exercise. So that sort of brings us up onto the last bit of of the graph. We've scoped it, we've initiated it, we've delivered the test. Here's your report. What's next?
Yeah, so this is still a key part for us, and that is all back to what we started with, sort of saying today about the partnership model that we try and build with our customers. So we don't just hand you the report and say, thank you, here's an invoice, see you later. It's about how can we then look to build a roadmap, look to improve your cybersecurity further. So we'll look at having a remediation call, whether that's immediately after the report has been issued, to walk through the report, or a month to however long further down the line to discuss the remediation activities and how that now looks in terms of the report and how everything's sort of evolved since then. We're happy to have those calls. That's the whole part of us being account managers here at Aristi. We are not just salespeople. We are building that partnership. We are making sure the customer feels like they are building their cybersecurity posture. And then, as we hopefully have been saying a lot today, that's win-win for everyone.
Absolutely.
We build that relationship. The customer has got tangible evidence of how they're maturing their posture. And that seems to work really well, that we find with many customers, don't we?
Absolutely. I think a big part of that, especially here at Aristi, is our core values. We apply them in everything we do. As salespeople, there is that sort of impression about salespeople, isn't there? We would both much rather a project be a success, be as appropriate and bespoke to a client as it could be, than just here's the biggest project that covers everything. A lot of this stuff doesn't apply. We take a lot more interest in making sure it's as much of a success and it's as designed for you as it can be, isn't there? So there's many ways to do that, really, isn't there? A successful project is making sure that the end result doesn't stop there. You're moving on to what the next thing might be.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got ISO 9001, the quality management accreditation. So with that, we have to be constantly improving and receiving feedback and working on that feedback. Why that's good is that the customer comes along the journey with us, and we learn better ways of working, we improve everything we're doing with the customer, and then through that, everyone then has a better experience and ultimately gets better results and more value for their money. And so with that feedback, sometimes it'll be what went well in a project, and we'll have a call about that. Sometimes it might just be an email saying, oh, that communication might have worked a little bit better, let's say on Teams next time instead of text messages or whatever. And then we're constantly evolving and working with the customer. In terms of that evolving and partnership model, cybersecurity as a service is one of our key services that works the best in that. That's that monthly fee that we charge for it under a contract, and then you build a relationship with us that becomes us as part of your wider extension of the your IT team or even cybersecurity team. That model then means you get access to all of our testing team and our information assurance team who can help with support along anything from GDPR to accreditations like ISO 27001, and just looking at your wider posture in cybersecurity and ultimately how to improve that. So that's the partnership model that works best. That kind of covers everything today that I think we wanted to cover in terms of the customer journey. I think the ultimate takeaway from the customer experience for us at Aristi is that we are not faceless.
Yes.
We are cameras on type people on Teams, the testers. They might have their hoodies and be hackers in the background, but
the hoodies are Aristi branded at the very least.
There you go. They've got the merch out there, haven't they? And but that's the whole point of it. Yes. We want to build that relationship with our customer. It's not just a one project and out. It's
it can be almost frustrating, can't it, with suppliers? As with annual things and moving on to the next, it almost feels like you've forgotten about in between the middle. We don't like that. We like to find what works best for you. Let's do that. Let's continue to do that. And that partnership CSAS model really helps that go smoothly. So, no, it's been a good conversation, Michael.
Fantastic. So, thank you for listening today. I've been Michael Palmer. He's been James Dalton. And see you later.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to our cybersecurity podcast. If you're keen to learn more, please visit our website www.aristi.co.uk. Cybersecurity made simple.